the renovation of this hotel. But we start with a little history of the Plaza Hotel as we sit down with Shannon Woodruff, the media director. If you've ever seen a picture of El Paso, Texas, from 1930 on, you've seen one hotel stand out. That's the Plaza Hotel. And a lot of people say it was Conrad Hilton's first hotel. Well, actually, he purchased a high-rise hotel in Dallas. But this is the first building he built from scratch, from the ground up. Joining me now is the great-grandson of Conrad Hilton, Shannon Woodruff. I'm just kidding.
I wish.
Right. Shannon, thank you for having me here
I'm
today.
happy to be here. Thank you.
All I can say is, oh my goodness, and wow.
It's spectacular. It's breathtaking is what it is.
I walk in, and not only was it just a musty old, really an old shell not too long ago, now new life. Life as I've never seen it.
Yes, it's spectacular. I mean, that's exactly, I think you phrased it well, like you've never seen it. This hotel has been brought back to being the crown jewel of the El Paso skyline like it should be. We're very excited.
Take us back in time, of course. When did this hotel originally open?
This hotel opened on November 30th, 1930, right after the hotel before it, the Hotel Sheldon, burnt down. So it was right before the Great Depression, but yeah, so it's a fascinating story.
Conrad Hilton opened this thing up right before the Depression.
Really got going. It's like the Great Depression started and the hotel opened, and with great success.
It was successful.
Yes, very.
In spite of the economy, this place thrived. So how big is it? What is the architecture?
Oh, yeah, no problem. It's Pueblo Revival Art Deco. The hotel is 19 stories, with 17 of them being a living space. So you have from the lobby to the rooftop bar on the 17th floor with La Perla.
Wonderful. Now, this sits at what intersection? And kind of walk us in the front of this hotel. What is the first thing you see? What is the first thing that Conrad Hilton had hoped you'd see?
I think it's just luxury. So we are located at 106 West Mills, which is right diagonal to San Isidro Plaza. So you come in through the front doors and all you see is luxury. You're greeted by great service and beautiful, beautiful architecture and just amazing decor.
When this originally opened, people began basically defining their lives in this hotel.
Yes.
There are El Paso families who have lived here for generations, and they almost always have a Plaza Hotel story.
Oh, yeah, completely. Whether it's someone who, had a family member who worked at the hotel, or even someone who had their parents had their wedding at the hotel. This hotel is, a quintessential part of the El Paso history and culture, and we are happy to finally have our doors back open and welcoming in not only El Pasoans, but the entire world.
There's a mail chute in the lobby, and people can drop their letters from their rooms. It falls down 17 floors into a box.
I wish.
When they opened that up, when they were remodeling, what did they find?
So they found 2 letters. It's actually a really fascinating story. So yeah, so it doesn't work anymore, but back in the day, yeah, you'd put your little, you'd write your letters and drop them in the little mail slot. It'd go all the way down to the mailbox, which is located in our elevator bank. And so when they started the renovation on the hotel, they cracked the door open and found 2 unsent letters. Just a cool little piece of history, which you can find in our lobby as well.
And you have them hanging on the walls.
Yeah, they're hanging in the lobby.
It's a treasure. Things started to turn bad for the Plaza Hotel. It thrived for many decades, but when did things start to turn down?
Started going in about the 80s, kind of with downtown as well. Just slowly people started moving out of downtown. And then in 1992, they closed the doors. But Mr. Foster bought the property in 2008. It took about 10 years of planning and working with the Historical Society and government. And then finally in 2017, they began the renovations. And here we are today with our doors open in 2020.
So 2008, Foster buys this hotel with a passion to restore it to its original glory, if not better.
If not, yeah.
Construction starts in 2017, and then voila.
And that's exactly it. So even through all the crazy times that we're having now, we got our doors open and we're welcoming people in. We just want to be, what El Paso is, a place of comfort and just somewhere where you want to, where you want to be at home.
Tradition.
That's what we are. So we have El Paso's living room in our lobby, and we welcome people in just to sit down, hang out, read a book, maybe visit our restaurant and bar. It's a really amazing hotel, and we're really excited to be here.
Shannon, we can't wait to explore it. Thank you so much. And
I appreciate it.
More information on KTSM.com. Click on the Studio 9 tab. When we come back, we're going to talk to Patricia Castillo, an employee of the hotel whose parents had their wedding reception in the ballroom. We'll also talk about a celebrity who lived here many years ago.
Sponsored by Fielding Law.
If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, don't go it alone. Take action. There are legal professionals standing by to tell you what your case is potentially worth. I'm here with spokesman Rob Wolf. And Rob, tell the folks at home who should be calling right now.
Well, it's just like you said, Gina. Anyone who's been injured in an accident was not your fault. You do not have an attorney. Do something about it. Call right now and they'll let you know what your case is potentially worth.
Thank you, Rob. Take action and call now.
The year was 1979. My Sharona was the #1 hit, and ESPN made its first broadcast. That same year, a small HVAC company opened its doors for business. For the last 40 years, Gray Heating and Air Conditioning has given its customers the satisfaction of great service and expertise in heating, air conditioning, and indoor air quality. Our commitment for the next 40 years and beyond is to ensure that we continue to meet our customers' expectations of honesty, integrity, and excellence. Call Gray Heating and Air Conditioning, Carrier Factory Authorized Dealers. Carrier, turn to the experts.
This 4th of July, there are savings throughout the store to make this the best time to get your great night's sleep. Save up to $800 store-wide. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic Breeze adjustable set. Plus, if you're looking for adjustable sleep, then Mattress Firm is your place. 20 models under just $15.99. Plus, for a limited time, get your free adjustable base with purchase. Mattress Firm's your mattress headquarters for 23 years.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Sponsored by Fielding Law.
Hi, folks. We're back. And we're here to remind you that if you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. There are legal professionals standing by to tell you what your case is potentially worth. All right, Rob, remind the folks at home who should call right now.
Anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault, you don't have an attorney, call right now, and they'll let you know what your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Rob. All right, folks at home, take action and call now.
I'm standing in the ballroom of the newly renovated Plaza Hotel with a woman whose parents celebrated their very marriage in this historical place. Joining me now is Patricia Castillo. She is the sales manager of the hotel and a family connection to this beautiful place.
Absolutely. Very proud to be the sales manager and a sense of connection, emotionally speaking, to this beautiful place with my very parents having been married here, their wedding pictures against that window you see there.
Wow. Wow.
It's amazing.
What year was that?
1961.
1961. So in 1961, this hotel was still thriving.
It was. I remember being young, coming downtown with my mom, and she would always say, you see that hotel right there? Me and your daddy, that's where we got married. And it was just always, that's where we got married. Little did I know I would one day be working here.
Wow. Conrad Hilton had great timing, didn't he?
He did.
He opened up this beautiful hotel, and then we went into the biggest depression in American history.
That is correct.
But it worked out pretty good.
It really did. He actually attributes this hotel to his success. It carried him through the Great Depression. He writes about it in his book, and it is called Be My Guest. So I encourage you to take a look at it. It's really interesting. He credits El Paso, the Plaza Hotel, and this hotel being the anchor that carried him through the Great Depression.
So this was the building that he opened up right before the Depression, and it generated enough revenue right here to be able to float the other hotels
That is what happened. That is correct. And think about that. Way back then in 1930, cattle trading was still a big business. It was very prominent. So part of that success was due to the roots of this hotel, which is cattle trading and we were in a very prominent location, which was the Pass of the North.
You have extensive photographs of not only the history of the hotel, but this poor place sat empty, collecting dust for 25 5 years.
A long
What
time.
did you think when you saw those pictures?
There is no way this could be resurrected. When you look at those photos, you're going, how could this be? This is amazing. And the transformation, bringing it back to its original grandeur is beyond belief.
Many a celebrity has stayed, especially in the grand suite on the 19th floor, on the 17th floor. Elizabeth Taylor, how did we have a connection to Elizabeth
Isn't
Taylor?
that amazing?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Taylor lived here. She was actually married to Nicky Hilton, which is Conrad's son. And during her short marriage, she actually lived here. Her quarters, her living quarters were on the 17th floor, the penthouse, as they were called back then, and today is La Perla. And the 17th floor rooftop lounge is called La Perla with respect to Elizabeth Taylor's beautiful pearl necklace that she wore. And so it's just amazing. It's very much a sight to see.
Patricia, amazing place. Amazing that your parents were in this very room back in 1961. If you want more information, we've got it at KTSM.com. Don't forget to click on the Studio 9 tab. Wow, great story. When we come back, meet an El Pasoan who came home to be the executive chef of this amazing hotel. He's going to treat us with the brand newly renovated Ambar and show us how, if you really want to spend some money, how does $280 per shot sound?
From family gathering to romantic dinner, Trattoria Bella Sera is here to take care of you in a new location. Grazie El Paso for the honor of serving you for 13 years and awarding us Best of the Best for 3 straight years. Buon appetito!
Do you need a career and not just a job? Enroll at Southwest University and start your career with online classes today. Southwest University offers bachelor's degrees in business in only 3 years, or earn your associates in only 2 years. Southwest University offers degrees in web development and computer programming, so don't wait and enroll today. Southwest University is now offering online classes. Transfer credits are accepted. Southwest University makes you happen.
Roofing problems? Call New Era Spray Foam, SPFA Industry Excellence Award winners and master installers. Spray Foam Roofing uses urethane, engineered for a fast installation with no seams, gaps, and cracks, improving energy efficiency by 30% and reducing maintenance costs. Protecting your home from the storms. Call today to set up your appointment for the last roof you will ever buy. New Era Spray Foam, protecting your home. Energy performance for life.
Dear patients, our team of professionals at Arteries and Veins Clinics is committed to your care. We've risen to the challenge and will continue to serve our community during these difficult times. Like many medical professionals, we've always used personal protection equipment, but in an abundance of caution, we are also conducting health screenings for every person who comes to the door. We take the health of our patients, their families, and our staff seriously. Rest assured that no matter what challenges we face, we'll be there for you. Sincerely, your team at Arteries and Veins.
You know, little buddy, there's nothing better than hanging out in the beautiful Texas outdoors. You know, I couldn't agree with you more. Maybe we should write a song about it. It's a good idea, like this. Take care of Texas, yeah, you know what we mean. Keep the air and the lakes and the rivers clean. Tell your friends and your family and your neighbors too. Take care of Texas, it'll take care of you. Take care of Texas, it's the only one we got.
For every moment of your life, there's a Ford SUV that was built for you. Upgrade to a new Ford SUV at your Texas Ford dealer today. With amazing deals on Expedition, Edge, EcoSport, and the all-new Explorer and Escape. See your Texas Ford dealer or shop online and use our pickup and delivery services. Ford SUVs, built for Texas, built for you. Now, for a limited time, get 0 for 72 months on our full lineup of Ford SUVs. Hurry in to your Texas Ford dealer.
Benvenuti a Trattoria Bella Sera, the true taste of homemade Venetian cuisine from northern Italy. Made with traditional Italian flavor and the freshest ingredients. The true taste of Italy in the heart of El Paso. Arrivederci, a presto.
I'm I'm downstairs in the restaurant and the bar of the beautifully remodeled Plaza Hotel. It's called Ambar. And of course, when you want a restaurant and a bar this good, you have to seek talent with international flair. And so joining me now is Executive Chef Andres Padilla. It is so nice to meet you, Andres. Thank you for having me here at Ambar.
Absolutely. We're welcome to have you here at the hotel.
You have been working on this project a while. I know you were in a little rented space across the way. Now you're finally home in one of your restaurants. Tell us about Ambar.
So Ambar is this really beautiful restaurant, you know, surrounded in this really beautiful space. It's about regional modern Mexican cuisine. So really focusing on all the different regions of Mexico, all my travels throughout the years, my experience back where I was before I came over here, and just really focusing around this wood fire. We have this beautiful hearth right in the middle of the restaurant. So you walk into this beautiful bar, but when you walk into the restaurant, you will see this centerpiece of fire. So it kind of brings this sense of rusticity, this rustic kind of edge to it, but at the same time very elegant and very modern.
You smell the flames of that fire. It's just mouth-watering the second you step in. You talked about the cuisine throughout Mexico. Tell us about your studies and your passion. How did you become a chef?
Oh, well, I think it started as a boy, you know, playing when I was young, and all the rest of the cousins would be running around the yard playing outside, and I would be inside next to my grandmother, and you know, always lured by the smells and the aromas that were coming from the kitchen and sticking my head. And of course, growing up as a little chubby kid, I was always tasting everything.
Ambar, it used to have a ceiling. It was kind of low, but you said they opened it up.
So yes, so this back here that we're looking at behind us was actually one of the previous owners after Conrad Hilton had closed it off, and they basically had this really huge ballroom upstairs. And Mr. Foster said, I want to restore it to its glory. And so now what we're looking at is what you would have walked into. Not exactly. I mean, we've added some very modern and elegant touches, but that grand sense when you walk in and that open ceiling is what it was back in 1930.
The original chandeliers.
The original chandeliers, that is correct.
Oh my goodness. Now, of course, if you want to come and have a nice local dinner, you've got affordable cuisine, but if you want to go large, of course, this Ambar can take care of that. For example, some of these tequilas sitting right here. Can you tell us about it, especially this particular one right here? What is that?
So this one is actually very special. This is a Casa Noble Añejo tequila, which has been aged for a year. It's actually been aged in 3 different oaks. It starts in Hungarian, then it moves over its way to French, and then it's finished in American oak. So you can imagine, just like the wine, all this beautiful aroma and flavor that gets captured in there. Not to mention just the quality of the agave and the care that goes into what Casa Noble does. This is a very, very limited production tequila. In the entire world, every year, they only make 780 bottles.
780 bottles?
That's their entire production for the year. In the state of Texas, we are lucky enough to have 2, and the Plaza Hotel is lucky enough to have 1.
This is the one.
This is the one. And because of its exclusivity, it is up there in price.
And we don't want to drop it.
We do not want to drop this.
A little pricey per shot, but you say worth it.
Absolutely. Just everything that you capture when you just even put it to your nose, and the aromas, you're wafting all these beautiful hints of vanilla, that oak shines through, and then it's just super rich and smooth going down. It's an experience unlike any other tequila experience you'll have.
Chef Padilla, wonderful. $280 per shot, but the chef says, you'll love it. If you'd like more information, it's available at KTSM.com, and don't forget to click the Studio 9 tab. Coming up, we have exclusive photos of before and during this amazing construction phase. We'll sit down and talk about all the things that had to be done to bring this hotel back to life.
The ultimate summer sale is here with the hottest offers at El Paso Honda. Get the most out of this summer with the new 2020 Accord LX for $229 a month. Take a test drive at El Paso Honda or shop 24/7 at elpasohonda.com.
As we approach warmer temperatures and continue to practice social distancing, now more than ever, it's extremely important to stay active, stay healthy. Physicians Vascular Services remains open and committed to the safety, care, and health of our patients. We are closely monitoring updates along with guidance from local and government health agencies. We are accepting all patients, Monday through Saturday, safely and without delay. So don't wait. Call today and get back to living the life you deserve.
May your grills be sizzling hot, your drinks refreshingly cool, and your 4th of July weekend be one to truly be thankful for. Builder Source Appliance Gallery will be closed Saturday, July 4th, so we can celebrate with our families. And we hope that you and your family have a safe and fun holiday.
How do you make something that's already fresh even fresher? By adding fresh new things, like crisp pico de gallo for a little kick, and creamy cilantro lime sauce for that extra whoa. And 2 slices of pepper jack cheese, because, of course, that's 3 new fresh things on top of 2 fresh beef patties, which all adds up to Whataburger's new limited-time Pico de Gallo burger. Good thing for fresh things. Good thing there's Whataburger.
Calling all gearheads, road warriors, and backyard mechanics. If you're looking to become an essential worker in the transportation industry, then Western Tech has the right training for you. For 50 years, Western Tech has been the go-to school for training in the automotive, diesel, and CDL fields. Western Tech's programs provide advanced instruction, industry certifications, and direct factory training. Are you ready? Become essential in the transportation field with specialized training at Western Tech. Call or visit westerntech.edu and enroll today.
When you are ready for some fresh air and beautiful skies, Deming, New Mexico is the ideal place. It's the way the West used to be. Award-winning wines to a hit of wild. From Cooks Peak to the Florida Mountains, Deming will leave you with memories that last a lifetime. Bring your family and friends and reconnect. Deming, New Mexico. Adventure in the wide open spaces.
Julie Nolan and I have teamed up to answer your weather question in a new segment called Ask Monica. Ask Me. Record your video question and submit it to KTSM.com, and I'll answer it every Tuesday on air.
The ultimate summer sale is here with the hottest offers at El Paso Honda. It's time to shop and save on a new 2020 Civic LX for $169 a month. Take a test drive at El Paso Honda or shop 24/7 at elpasohonda.com.
The Plaza Hotel was built in 1930, and it thrived all the way up until 1992. And then, like all buildings that are very, very old, it went vacant for a long time. In 2017, they started tearing it up and getting ready for the renovation. Joining me now is Richard Bransford. He's the Director of Construction. Wow, Richard. Well, of course, you walked in around 2016-ish, and you took a look at it. What were your initial thoughts?
Oh, we've got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
Okay, and when, of course, they built buildings in 1930 versus now, I mean, there are safety issues that were at play here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the biggest obstacle that we ran across was basically code compliance. Codes had evolved from 1930 to the 2000s, and we had to get in compliance. So some of the major things that we ended up doing was putting in fire stairwells, for instance. Back in the 1930s, they had an exterior fire escape, and they had about a 5-foot stairwell in the building.
Oh, great.
So we actually had to come in on the north side and on the south side of the building and create fire stairwells.
Right. Now, when you walked in, as I understand it, there were 300 little hotel rooms. You wanted to change that. So how did you begin tearing up all those walls?
Well, the demolition on that was just basically just get in there and start taking walls down. The rooms were probably 15 feet across, 20 feet across, so they were nowhere near to today's standards. So in order to make them closer to today's standards, basically we ended up having to take out a bunch of the walls to create a bigger space for the guests.
And of course, the plumbing was old, the electrical was old. You had to gut all that, right? 17 full floors, rip it out and put in brand new?
Everything came out. All the electrical wasn't code compliant. Plumbing wasn't code compliant. There was no fire protection systems in place. There was so much out of compliance that we had to take everything out and redo it to today's new codes.
So every room has sensors and sprinklers and all of those modern features.
Yep, every room is fully sprinklered, has CO2 sensors in there. It's all code compliant. It's separated. Water temperatures for the guest rooms and the bathrooms, and it's just all redone.
Now, of course, there were originally elevators in the building. That was 1930 technology, so you got to use the same shafts, right? But obviously you couldn't save those.
Right, yeah, the shafts stayed, but the interiors and all the electronics, everything got swapped out on the cab. The cab exterior stayed, but the interior of the cab, all the mechanisms, all got swapped out to today's technologies.
You had a lot of debris. How did you get 17 floors of junk, basically, out of the hotel safely and then on its way?
So there was an old shaft that we ended up using to push everything into a shaft and take it down floor by floor, including the stairwells. Those emergency stairwells that we talk about, it was a ton of concrete that came out. And so it just had to work its way from floor to floor to floor to floor until we got to this level. And when you got to this level, those doors right there were gone. And basically, you just hauled everything out through the front doors.
On the top floor at La Perla, you said one of those patios used to be enclosed and then you opened it up. How'd you do that?
Yeah, the east patio was enclosed, but it was actually enclosed. That was residential construction, actually. It was done with wood. It was done with wood 2x for the roof and had just regular 5/8 sheetrock with a popcorn ceiling that had been done, who knows when, but
on the cheap.
We ended up taking it all out and just converting it back to the way it was originally back in 1930.
I understand right here in the Ambar there was basically a ceiling over this, and you opened this up and restored it to its Art Deco luster. This was a big job.
This was a big job. Originally, I guess somewhere, and I don't know the date, but they actually came in and put a floor in, so that all had structural steel and had a ton of concrete. And basically, we ended up coming back in here and having to support it all and then take it out section by section to open everything back up.
And of course, the artist had to touch up, paint all of the vigas and chandeliers.
Had everything touched up, had the chandeliers taken down, and those chandeliers were actually the original chandeliers from 1930. So we sent them out, had them refurbished, and brought them back, and they worked like they did back in 1930.
Richard, last question, of course. There's some beautiful concrete work on the exterior and bricks. I mean, you saved as much of the original intent as possible, right?
The exterior, I don't think we replaced any brick on the exterior. The exterior brick has made it since 1930.
Wow, and it looks fabulous. Just had to clean it up.
Just cleaned it up. Just cleaned it up and repointed the masonry.
Richard, thank you. Excellent work, sir. Excellent work. And if you'd like more information, go to KTSM.com, click on the Studio 9 tab. Join us on Studio 9 next week as we sit down with the man who purchased this hotel and put in the money necessary to bring it back to life. Over $80 million of cost. We'll talk exclusively to Paul Foster. And we'll give you an exclusive tour of all the renovated suites, the beautiful hotel rooms, and all the amenities. That's next week on Studio 9. Until then, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, El Paso.
Are you taking Viagra or Cialis? Marley Drug